Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, January 20th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today. It's going to be bitterly cold, though the high just 22. And then tonight and overnight clear, low 13. Ouch. But Wednesday gets better. Sun and clouds, high 34. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 16 and clear in Valley Cottage up in Rockland County. It's 12 and clear in West Milford over in New Jersey. And it's 20 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
We will spend the day in a deep freeze. Mikey Sherrill takes over in New Jersey today. We're learning more about a deadly dog attack on Staten Island. A Brooklyn family should have never answered the doorbell. A Jersey City man lost everything in a smash and grab. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. We're getting this Arctic blast. The cold has set in overnight, frigid temperatures. When you walk out this morning, if you haven't done so already, you'll notice it's a lot colder than it has been now, just for a day, so we can handle that. And then it actually comes back on the weekend. It's going to even be colder on the weekend. The highs like in the teens. So New Yorkers say, hey, you know, part of this is, well, duh, it's winter.
It's really, this cold, this weather is brutal.
It's freezing. It's not even cold, it's like beyond cold.
I'm just going to continue wearing, or I guess upping my layers. Okay. Or staying inside.
Okay, so the real feel today will feel in the minus numbers depending on where you are. If you're the Hudson Valley, it'll feel like minus 12. Whatever it is, it's just going to feel really cold.
Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. About 3 and 2 pair of pants.
I'm wearing 1 layer and I'm freezing.
I've had 17 layers on for the morning dog walk.
Okay.
Oh, I'm wearing about like 6 layers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. You layer up when you're outside, wear a hat, a winter jacket, you'll be good to go. And then just for today, then we warm up for a couple days. But again, the weekend, first of all, it looks like there's going to be potentially a pretty intense snowstorm on Sunday as we're watching the NFC and AFC championship football games, that a storm's going to come in that potentially could bring a lot of snow. We'll continue to monitor that. We're not really sure yet, but it'll bring some snow. And then so this cold weather today is for today, and then tomorrow it's 34 degrees. So just one day of really cold, a couple days, and then it gets really cold again. 5:02, New Jersey gets a new governor today. She has big plans.
New Jersey Governor-elect Mikey Sherrill says on her first day as the state's 57th governor, she'll declare a state of emergency and sign an executive order freezing utility rate hikes. Electric bills skyrocketed about 20% last June. Sherrill also says she'll give immediate attention to a first-time homebuyer's bill to help people get their foot in the door, literally. Another top priority for the mother of 4 is online safety for children. I'm Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
And that swearing in going to take place in northern New Jersey, and the party tonight. The swearing is going to be at 10 o'clock, and the party will take place at American Dream in East Rutherford. Over to Newark in 5:03, a police officer fatally shot one man, injured another yesterday afternoon. The shooting took place, it was about 1 o'clock, right near Ross Street and Evergreen Avenue. Officers with the Newark Police Department say they encountered several civilians in that area. It's unclear what they were up to or what led to the gunfire. The Attorney General's office says it's going to investigate, but one officer fired his weapon, striking two men. Both were taken to University Hospital, one pronounced dead, the other being treated for their injuries. The officer who fired his weapon, he was taken to a local hospital for evaluation and then released. No other officers were injured. Now, here's an eyewitness who says they don't understand why the officer opened fire.
I was just sitting over there. We were hanging out with a couple people, and next thing I know, I just heard a bunch of shots go off. I looked at a friend of mine. She stood up. I yelled at her to get down.
He just tried to take off, and they surrounded the car, and they shot him.
He jumped out.
He didn't have no gun. He didn't have nothing. They just shot him.
Now, some others in the area said they looked to be undercover cops working on some sort of operation. The exact circumstances surrounding the shooting, the police anyway, have not made that clear.
I'm outraged, to be honest. You might can't tell, but I'm really upset. They should have other protocols and other tactics, not shoot to kill someone.
Mayor Ross Baracco releasing a statement last night calling the incident a heartbreaking tragedy for everybody involved. Again, the Attorney General's office says they will take over this investigation to figure out exactly what took place. 5:05, let's bring it back here into the city where talks are still stalled for the nurses' strike. 15,000 will walk the picket line again today. This is day 8, second week of the walkout at the three cities' largest private hospitals, Mount Sinai, Montefiore, and New York Presbyterian.
At this critical time, we want to make sure that this is solved and that we have safe staffing.
City Council Speaker Julie Menon urging the two sides to come together. She actually stopped by to meet with the striking workers yesterday as they walked the picket line. They want guaranteed health benefits, better staffing ratio, improved hospital security, and more money.
Has been to take care of our patients for safety and for things that how we can take care of New York City together.
Now, the hospitals say that some of these nurses have been doing intimidating things to keep the visiting nurses away, right? These hospitals have hired visiting nurses to take the spots for the nurses who are walking the picket line. So Mount Sinai CEO Dr. Brendan Carr says those striking nurses are not making it easy for them to do their job.
No one has discussed any give or take. No one's meeting halfway.
Okay, that's one of the nurses. I think this might be the CEO.
The New York State Nurses Association has been aggressively harassing and intimidating Mount Sinai's nurses who have chosen to come to work.
Now, these hospitals have hired those visiting nurses to take the roles of the striking nurses. Obviously, they have to keep operations going, and they say it's as normal as possible, but those those nurses, they'll be back out on the picket line a little bit later this morning, starting at 7 o'clock. 5:06 out to Staten Island. We're getting more information on this man who was bitten and killed by a pit bull in New Dorp on Sunday afternoon. So he's a 59-year-old man found dead inside this home on New Dorp Lane. This was about 4 o'clock on Sunday. He had been bitten several times in the arms and the thigh. So here's what we know. It was not his dog. Apparently it was his roommate's dog. Now, neighbors say they knew this pit bull. They described him as frightening and not well taken care of. And they say that the police had been called to this home numerous times for all kinds of things.
Me and my wife ran out, and we seen the trucks and the police. That corner of the house was on fire, and we saw the vehicle was half in there.
Now, a neighbor says the dog has a violent past. They had seen the dog just walking the streets on its own. Now, what was behind this attack of this person in the home? We don't know that yet. We don't even know an identity of the 59-year-old.
This dog was abused because the people that lived there did not want this dog. Just the other day, they kicked it out, and it was running down the street, and the owner, she was running after the dog with no shoes on.
Yeah, so she was the owner of the person that was attacked, this 59-year-old. Police are still trying to sort this all out. And, of course, as they do, we'll pass that information on to you. WABC News Time 509. Let's go down to D.C. There's a push to protect immigration agents as they carry out raids. Senator John Cornyn filing a bill that increases penalties for those who violently assault federal law enforcement officers.
We need to throw the book assessment
them, and they need to be prosecuted for the fullest extent of the law.
Texas senator was inspired by last week's attack in San Antonio. It was an illegal immigrant from Cuba who rammed 2 undercover ICE cars during his arrest. Senator Cornyn wants to send a message that activists need to stay away from ICE raids.
Law enforcement personnel are simply enforcing laws that Congress have passed.
And he says the book should be thrown at people who get in the way.
They should be respected and should not be targeted.
Meanwhile, former CNN anchor Don Lemon, now an internet-based content creator, created quite a firestorm in Minnesota over the weekend connected to ICE agents.
Lemon was either reporting on or participating in a protest or demonstration at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota, where organizers claim the pastor is an ICE field director. Lemon confronted him.
It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
There's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Hip-hop artist Nicki Minaj took to social media and blasted Lemon in response, saying he'd never do that to members of a different religion. And Attorney General Pam Bondi threatened to prosecute the demonstrators, referring to attacks and acts of intimidation against Christians. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
President Trump not ruling out using force to acquire Greenland, but correspondent Gabe Gutierrez says the idea of a U.S. takeover isn't going over so well.
A frigid Greenland is fired up over President Trump's threats to take over the Danish territory. The island holding a protest over the weekend. Demonstrators wearing their own version of MAGA hats. Make America go away.
In a phone interview with NBC News, the president said no comment when asked if the U.S. would use force to seize Greenland. Over the weekend, he said he would slap 10% tariffs on Denmark, other European allies, until a deal is reached for the U.S. to acquire Greenland.
European ambassadors held an emergency meeting in Brussels Sunday. The New York Times reporting that officials are considering tariffs against the U.S. worth over $100 billion, according to 2 diplomatic sources. The president announced that until Greenland is sold to the U.S. starting February 1st, he'll impose a 10% tariff on all goods from Denmark and 7 other countries that have agreed to send small numbers of troops to Greenland. The import tax would then increase to 25% on June 1st if no deal is reached. Trump posting that Denmark has not addressed, quote, the Russian threat, adding now it is time and it will be done, while Europe is considering responses that may impact the American economy.
5/12, President Trump, meanwhile, wants nations to pay $1 billion if they want a permanent seat on the Gaza Board of Peace. Correspondent Mitch McCann reports those who don't pay would get a 3-year membership.
The Board of Peace was intended to be a group created as part of a plan to bring peace to Gaza. However, a draft charter posted online by the Times of Israel contains no specific mention of the conflict. Instead, it discusses securing enduring peace in areas affected or threatened by conflict.
The administration says most of the money would be used in rebuilding Gaza. Several nations have been invited, including Canada, Argentina, Pakistan, and Russia. Now, a Kremlin spokesman saying last night that they confirm receipt of the invitation, said officials are studying all the details and the proposals. Here's more from Mitch McCann.
A number of countries have been invited to join, including Argentina, Canada, Egypt, and France, while Moscow says Vladimir Putin has received an invitation on behalf of Russia and is studying the details. It's widely reported that to join the Board of Peace on a permanent basis, President Trump is asking nations to pay a $1 billion fee, while those that do not pay would receive a 3-year membership.
5/14, while we're overseas, the World Economic Forum getting underway in Davos yesterday. Davos, Switzerland. Ross Cullen is there.
The annual gathering of political and business elites comes as Europe and NATO face their biggest ever test of relations with Washington. The US leader is expected to make his first appearance at the summit in Switzerland since returning to office, with a possible meeting due with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to let the US acquire Greenland, which is a self-governing Danish territory. The US says it will apply tariffs on countries that stand in the way of Washington's attempts to take control of the island, a move that has enraged European leaders.
And no doubt that'll be some of the talk in Davos, Switzerland on Wednesday. 5/14, it was a fiery address peppered with political overtones given by Bernice King, the youngest daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and what would have been his 97th birthday yesterday, and the 41st observance of the national holiday.
We are living in a moral crisis, not symbolic, but so deep. Our humanity is at stake.
The 62-year-old king delivering her remarks during the beloved community commemorative service at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta yesterday.
Oligarchy masquerading as democracy is not waiting. The normalization of dehumanization, disinformation, and violence is not waiting. Wars raging abroad and in our streets are not waiting.
And there was a big celebration of King's life here in New York City, and we'll get to that coming up after 5:30. 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Good morning to you, Noam Layden. We'll start here with, obviously, a big game last night out in Miami. Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza launching himself horizontally into the end zone late, reaching the ball over the goal line to put an exclamation point on a 27-21 win over the Miami Hurricanes that closed out an undefeated season and brought an improbable national championship to a program that had known nothing but losing and indifference for almost 140 years. Mendoza finished with 186 yards passing, but it was that tackle-breaking, sprawled-out 12-yard touchdown run on 4th and 4 with just over 9 minutes left that defined this game and the Hoosiers' season. Indiana and Mendoza would not be denied. His TD gave Indiana a 24-14 lead at the time, barely enough breathing room to hold off a frenzied charge by the Hurricanes, a team that barely made the college football playoff and barely showed up in the first half of the final before coming to life behind 112 yards and 2 scores from Mark Fletcher. In a fitting bit of symmetry as well, this undefeated title comes 50 years after Bob Knight's basketball team went 32-0 to win it all in that state's favorite sport. Well, maybe not favorite anymore. Basketball.
Could be football, yeah.
How about that?
Did they show Mark Cuban at all last night?
I didn't see him. To be honest, I turned this game off at halftime.
Oh, because you thought it was over, yeah.
Yeah, I did see the president during the national anthem. That was a cool moment, but other than that, I did not see Mark Cuban. I know he's an alumni there.
I didn't realize how much money he had raised for the team.
Oh, yeah. No,
I didn't know that. Just ridiculous amounts of money.
They don't win this national championship without his money, I don't think. So.
And now he says he's going to invest even more.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he try and build a little dynasty out there in Hoosier land? Congrats to the Hoosiers. At the Garden, Knicks kept up their losing ways in the form of a 114-97 loss to the Dallas Mavericks. Lost their 4th straight in 9th and 11 games, even with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart back from ankle injuries to return them to full strength. Since winning the NBA Cup in December, they were 23-9 entering their final game of that month. They have fallen to 25-18 and entered play yesterday in 3rd place in the East. Up next for the struggling Knicks. They'll host their crosstown rival Nets tomorrow night.
Yeah, what's going on with them?
I don't know, man. They are not playing good basketball.
No, they have. I mean, they were playing great ball.
Yeah. And then the new year hits, and you're seeing a different Knicks team. I don't know what the deal is, but they got to get back on track.
I mean, mid-season slide's okay as long as they come back.
Yeah, still in 3rd place in the East, but come on now. Yeah, big fall off last couple of weeks, that's for sure. Not playing very inspired ball and losing by a good margin in these games, too. They're not really playing these teams close, so something's got to be worked out here for the Knickerbockers. Head to the NHL triple-header last night in Vancouver. Anthony Duclair scored twice, and the Islanders beat Vancouver 4-3. Up next for them, they'll visit the Kraken in Seattle tomorrow night. In Anaheim, Rangers fell 5-3 to the Ducks. Up next for the Rangers, they're right back at it tonight at 10 p.m. in Los Angeles to skate with the Kings. And finally in Calgary, Simone Nemeth scored in overtime to give the Devils a 2-1 victory over the Flames. Up next for the Devs, they're back out there tonight as well in Edmonton, getting set for a 10 p.m. puck drop against the Oilers. That is your Sports Now, man. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 520. Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem says over 10,000 arrests have been made in Minneapolis as the Trump administration continues to crack down on immigration there.
Noem took to X on Monday to say over 10,000 arrests were made of what she called criminal illegal aliens who are killing Americans, hurting children, and raining terror in Minneapolis. The Pentagon is awaiting potential orders to send about 1,500 troops to Minnesota. It comes as anti-ICE protests continue in the state after the deadly shooting of Renee Good by an agent. President Trump has said he may invoke the Insurrection Act as a result of the unrest. However, on Friday, he said he may not use it anymore. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Are you one of the millions of Americans who have not gotten your real ID yet? Well, a few options will be available for travelers who are not real ID compliant.
TSA Confirm ID will roll out an optional process on February 1st seeking biographic and or biometric information to confirm a traveler's identity and that they are not on a secure flight watch list. The agency recommends completing the process before arriving at the airport, and there will be a $45 fee meant to cover verification of an insufficient ID. Travelers have been warned since May that they'll need what's known as a real ID or another approved form of identification to board a domestic plane. I'm at Mattinson.
Yeah, I don't know if you're like me. I have not gotten mine yet. It's probably time to do so. 522 down to Texas, where Governor Greg Abbott is the biggest money man in the Lone Star State with more than $105 million in his campaign war chest. And there's no doubt he's going to spread some of that money out to try to influence races during the midterm. Here's Republican strategist Bill Miller, who says, that money's going to go to a lot of places.
$100 million does sound like a lot of money. And it certainly is for one candidate. But if you start spreading it around the state, it won't last long.
He says the governor has his eyes on Houston, which he wants to turn dark red.
He knows if he's opening his checkbook, it'll be gone pretty quickly.
And on top of that, expect to see the governor out on the campaign trail, not just in Texas, but other states as well.
Expect him to be talking about the issues, spending money about the issues, and the candidates and the parties.
And President Trump, he won his second term with the help of Latino voters who came out big time. His backers are working to keep that GOP dominance through this year's midterms.
Hispanics are not at all souring on President Trump. They're even more committed to him.
That's Maria Espinoza. She's with a group called the Remembrance Project. She says Hispanic communities are largely tired of the massive costs and crime that came with the spike in illegal immigration.
We don't want to be told how we feel and how we should be living.
And she claims that this group and Hispanics in general are waking up to the fact that they have the same values as the GOP does.
We're law-abiding, we work hard, we love our family.
And she says what the Democrats did, she says they took Hispanics for granted for too long and now losing them out to the Republicans in places like Texas. 523, biologists say they are baffled after a coyote was filmed swimming to Alcatraz in San Francisco.
A guest relations employee reported the sighting to park rangers after he was alerted by a guest. By the time they went to look for the coyote, it was gone. It's unclear where it came from. If it came from San Francisco, it would have had to swim or ride the current for 1.25 miles. Experts also speculate it could have been swept in from Marin or Angel Island, where a family of coyotes recently started living after swimming in from the North Bay. Biologists at Alcatraz say this was the first time they've ever seen anything like this. I'm Daniel Martindale.
All right, we'll go from San Francisco to a strange story out of Denver, where the owner of a record store has to wonder who has it out for him. The name of the store is called Wax Track Records. The owner, his name is Pete Steidman, and he says somebody for the 5th time has set a fire either in or outside his record store. This one happened over the weekend.
We need to, get those people some help. We need to figure out who they are, because, they're also putting other people's lives and livelihoods at risk.
Yeah, that's the police security video shows a man lighting a dumpster fire over the weekend that knocked out power to the building, did some damage to the record store. The record store owner says, I can't think of anybody who hates me. That would set 5 fires in a short period of time outside his record store. A health expert urging people who are dealing with loneliness to take action. Psychologist Susan Alber, she's with the Cleveland Clinic, and she says it's important for someone's health to get with other people, not just and be around them so you feel less lonely.
Chronic loneliness is known to trigger the fight or flight response, the stress response in the body. When we feel stressed, our bodies are flooded with cortisol, and this tends to weaken our immune system and increase inflammation.
In fact, the CDC says about 33% of Americans report feeling lonely. This doctor from the Cleveland Clinic, the psychologist, she urges Americans who are lonely to do things like sign up for a class or a book club just so you can be around other people, or do things like go to your gym and exercise. Italian fashion designer and founder of the Valentino brand, Valentino Garavani, has passed away at 93. Correspondent Kurt Gregory has more on his legacy of dressing some of the world's most famous and photographed women.
Over the decades, a Valentino gown became recognizable for strong colors and a flattering cut.
Has not a very wide shoulder, but just to keep it up a little bit, that makes the silhouette looking longer and longer.
Now, his death was announced on social media platforms late yesterday. Valentino passed away apparently at his Rome residence, surrounded by his loved ones.
In 2008, after defining style for 4 decades, Valentino stepped down as head of his fashion empire. But he'll be remembered for his signature style.
Now, throughout his career, he worked with celebrities such as Jennifer Aniston, Anne Hathaway, and Nicole Kidman. The cause of death, that remains unclear. The 2 child actors accusing Timothy Busfield of inappropriately touching them initially told police apparently the exact opposite. The twin boys, referred to as VL and SL in legal documents, were interviewed by cops in November 2024, and apparently the officer asked, did someone touch you in a private area? And the actor, the boy, said no. Now, Timothy Busfield, of course, all kinds of hot water, and this was all apparently took place as he was directing The Cleaning Lady, this TV series. So TMZ got hold of this tape where the boys are talking to police, and here's what it sounded like. They were asking, did Timothy Busfield, the actor, touch you inappropriately?
So, you know what's right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
You know no one could touch your private areas?
Yeah, but he...
So, you know what's right and wrong, right?
Yeah.
You know no one could touch your private areas?
Yeah, but he doesn't touch them.
Doesn't touch your private parts? Okay. And you know what's right and wrong, right? You know, where people can't touch, where people can't do.
So this goes on for a while, but Busfield's attorney submitted the audio to New Mexico court leaders yesterday. They're hoping this will reverse the case against him. In fact, there's so much going against him now. Timothy Busfield going to be edited out of an upcoming Amazon MGM film. Amazon's You Deserve Each Other shows Busfield as a top-billed actor in the project alongside Penn Badgley and Megan Fahey. This is the second project involving Busfield to be affected. Law and Order SUV episode was pulled that was supposed to air because he's in it as well. Now, whether this videotape that's being submitted to the court makes a difference, we'll have to wait and see.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Tuesday, January 20th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today, really cold. The high going to be 22. Tonight and overnight, clear, low 13, and then we warm up for a couple days. Wednesday, sun and clouds, high 34. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. It's 16 and clear in Valley Cottage up in Rockland County. It's 12 and clear in West Milford over in New Jersey, and it's 20 and clear right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 540. This bitter blast of cold air has settled in over the tri-state, and if you're fortunate enough to have a home, a heat, a hat, and gloves, a jacket, you're going to be okay because it's just 24 hours. But there's been this code blue issued, which means the homeless are taken off the streets out on Long Island. There are warming centers. There's warming centers across New York City as well if you don't have heat.
Throughout the island, there's going to be different food pantries, soup kitchens, different stuff like that. Unfortunately, it is this cold. But the good thing about New York State, when it is this cold, is that Code Blue is a statewide initiative to prevent people from having to be outside when it's this cold.
Now, if you're on Long Island, you can call 1-866-WARM-BED if you have some issues with heat or need a place to be. If you're here in the city, it's 311 where they'll get you help as well. And then we found, of course, there's always somebody who's escaping this all. Here were some people at the airport yesterday.
We're going to Florida, North Fort Myers, Tuesday.
Nice and warm there.
Their timing is excellent. And then we're getting these warnings from these ER doctors over the last couple weeks that they're seeing cases of frostbite on the rise because of these dangerously cold temperatures. I mean, you would think people would know better, but they don't always, and they show up with these frostbite symptoms. Sometimes they're just outside too long. They don't realize it.
Our numbness in the hands, changing of colors, pressing on your hands and not seeing that color come back as quickly as you would expect. Pain in the hands.
So that's Dr. Candace Kimson, who says she's surprised by how many frostbite patients she's seen in the last couple of weeks. She says, you need to go to the hospital for treatment if your hands don't warm up under warm water, if you don't see changes in your skin's appearance after you were outside for a long time, and today could be one of those days.
You've tried those measures that we talked about, covering up, putting your hands under warm water, and you're still seeing some things that don't seem quite normal. The numbness just doesn't go away. You're seeing some changes in the appearance of your skin, some breakdown of your skin.
Yeah, you'd think it would be obvious, but not for everybody. Mikey Sherrill, set to be sworn in today as New Jersey's first female Democrat to lead the state. It comes after Sherrill's huge win in the election. She won by about 14 points back in November.
We are going to very quickly show that we have a new agenda here in New Jersey.
So this morning, the new governor will do something that has not been done very often. She'll be sworn in outside of Trenton. She'll be sworn in this morning at the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in downtown Newark. She'll have her inaugural celebration at American Dream. That's the Super Mall in East Rutherford. 54-year-old mother of four campaigned on affordability and taking swings at Trump administration policies, which she was doing over the weekend as she made some appearances on the news shows on Sunday.
Can you imagine the cost that would be to everybody's pocketbook? And I can guarantee you...
She's talking about if President Trump goes after Greenland or tries to buy Greenland.
After spending a year and speaking to thousands of people across the state, that there is not one person in New Jersey that wakes up in the morning and says, gee, I hope today's the day that the president dumps billions of dollars into buying Greenland while my grocery store costs continue to go up.
Now, yesterday she was at a Martin Luther King celebration, and she talked about the ICE raids across New Jersey, saying anybody who breaks the law should face repercussions. But she says law-abiding working immigrants under her administration will be protected.
Here in New Jersey, we recently saw as a 9-year-old was dropped off at school, they picked up his dad on the way back. I'm not clear that they had a plan for that child and who was going to pick him up after school. That's unacceptable.
And the governor promised on her first day that she'll declare a state of emergency on and sign an executive order to freeze rate hikes along with other measures to lower utility costs. That may take more time, but she says she'll do that as soon as she's sworn in. First thing she'll do is sign off on that executive order. In a moment, we will go to Jersey City, where a business owner has lost everything. We'll tell you about that coming up. But first, 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start out here in Miami last night, where we crowned a new national champion in college football, and it was the Indiana Hoosiers Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza launching himself horizontally into the end zone late, reaching the ball over the goal line to put an exclamation point on the 27-21 win over the Hurricanes that closed out the undefeated season and brought an improbable national championship to a program that had done nothing but losing and indifference for almost 140 years. Mendoza finished with 186 yards passing, but it was that tackle-breaking, sprawled-out 12-yard touchdown run on 4th and 4, just over 9 minutes left, that defined this game and the Hoosiers' season. They just would not be denied. The touchdown gave Indiana a 24-14 lead at the time, barely enough breathing room to hold off a frenzied charge by the Hurricanes, a team that barely made the college football playoff and barely showed up in the first half of the final before coming to life behind 112 yards and 2 scores from Mark Fletcher. In a fitting bit of symmetry as well, this undefeated title comes 50 years after Bob Knight's basketball team went 32-0 to win it all in basketball, of course. The Hoosiers get the national title. Congrats to them.
It is pretty remarkable when you think of what they did in a really short period of time, turn the whole thing around.
Oh my God. I mean, they've never been a relevant football program, not even close to being in that discussion. And in just 2 years, Coach Cignetti brings this team not just to relevance, but to the top of the mountain. It's got to be one of the greatest sports stories almost ever.
Yeah.
Right?
And then I guess you got to credit Mark Cuban for all that money. He just raised like a ton of money for the football program.
It's Indiana got a little lucky. You got a couple of big-time alumni with deep pockets, and all of a sudden, you're hoisting that national championship trophy. How about it? The Hoosiers, they win it. At the Garden, the Knicks kept up their losing ways in the form of a 114-97 loss to the Dallas Mavericks. Up next for them, they'll host their crosstown rival Nets tomorrow night. And a triple-header on the ice last night out in Vancouver. Anthony Duclair scored twice, and the Islanders beat Vancouver 4-3. The Canucks up next for the Islanders. They'll visit the Kraken in Seattle tomorrow night. In Anaheim, the Rangers fell 5-3 to the Ducks. Up next for them, they're right back at it tonight at 10 p.m. in L.A. to skate with the Kings. And finally in Calgary, Simone Nemeth scored in overtime to give the Devils a 2-1 victory over the Flames. Up next for them, they're back out there tonight as well at 10 p.m. out in Edmonton, getting set for a puck drop against the Oilers. That is your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. The community in Gloucester County, New Jersey, mourning the loss of beloved coach and his wife. The couple were killed after a car crash over the weekend in Harrison Township. Police say 72-year-old Thomas Hangle and his 61-year-old wife were in their Hyundai SUV when, for some reason, it suddenly accelerated right into the home of their neighbor. The crash caused a fire that quickly engulfed the vehicle and the majority of the home. Now, this neighbor ran out to try to figure out what the heck was going on.
Me and my wife ran out, and we seen the trucks and the police. That corner of the house was on fire. We saw the vehicle was half in there.
Yeah, now police just sort of scratching their heads. What exactly happened? Nobody inside the home was injured, but the house was deemed uninhabitable.
At this point, we don't believe that it's anything other than a tragic accident. Fire department has said that there was a gas line that may have been severed on the vehicle, causing that to accelerate the fire quicker than what we would have expected.
Tributes have been pouring in online, including from the cross-country and track teams at Clearview High, where Thomas Hangle was a coach. In fact, he taught and coached for over 40 years at the school. He was cross-country coach of the year back in 2022. 5:50 over to Jersey City, where a jewelry store owner there says a group of thieves managed to wipe out his entire business, more than $1 million worth of merchandise just in a couple minutes. Gustavo Sanchez is now left to pick up the pieces of his jewelry store known as Gustavo Oro on Jersey City's west side. So inside now there's tubs of shattered glass, empty showcases, and all he has is the video of these four masked individuals who came in with large hammers to bust out the store's front windows, gain access. Then once inside, the crew smashed cases and grabbed every piece of jewelry this guy had. He's a small business owner, so it's not like he's got a lot of money.
They came with a hammer. They started breaking the showcases. They took a lot of jewelry, like 14 karat gold, diamonds, 18 karat gold, and whatever I built on 5 years disappeared in 5 minutes, like nothing. Boom.
Now the good news is nobody inside the store was hurt, because these smash and grabs usually have to happen while the store is open, because that's when the jewelry's in the display cases. So how much did he lose? About $1.5 million worth of merchandise. And he said, I've worked so hard to get to this point, and now it's all gone. But he says he's not going to give up. He's going to try to reopen the store again, collect on the insurance policy. That may take a while. That as police try to track these thieves down, which won't be easy to do because every part of their body was covered.
I was crying yesterday like a baby because, I've been working for 5 years. Never happened. At least 10 days and then we're going to be back. Okay. We're never going to give up.
Yeah, I don't know if you could understand him, but he says he believes in 10 days. He's giving himself 10 days to reopen the store. 5:52, New York City's largest nurses strike entering its second week yesterday. There appears to be no end in sight as about 15,000 nurses hold the picket line. No bargaining sessions are currently scheduled between the State Nurses Association and the three major hospital systems, Montefiore, Mount Sinai, and New York Presbyterian. So nurses say they will stay out until their demands are met.
I've been loyal to them since my 20s. I've always been there. I've made so many sacrifices, coming to days like holidays, leaving my family home.
The nurses have been standing firm on their demands for improved staffing ratios, protection from workplace violence, and health care benefits. Yesterday, we watched on as New York City Council Speaker Julie Menin visited the nurses who were standing outside Mount Sinai Hospital on Manhattan's Upper East Side.
We want to make sure that there's safe staffing, which is incredibly important for the nurses, for the patients, and so we're urging the parties to come to the table.
And then at Mount Sinai Morningside in Upper Manhattan, you had the Reverend Al Sharpton and other civil rights leaders rallying with the nurses yesterday.
Martin Luther King died in Memphis fighting for wages for garbage workers. And I believe he would want those of us that come in his tradition to be standing with nurses.
Now, the hospitals continue to call the union demands unreasonable. In an email addressed to friends and colleagues, you had Mount Sinai CEO Brendan Carr saying, as of today, despite our best efforts to negotiate a deal or a near-term path to an agreement is very unlikely. The hospitals and negotiators repeatedly called the nurses' demands unreasonable, with Mount Sinai saying the proposal that is on the table now from the nurses would cost them $1.6 billion over the next 3 years. They say that is not doable. So those nurses, even in the frigid cold today, will be back out on the picket line starting at 7 a.m. It was fiery speeches taking center stage on Martin Luther King Day here in the city yesterday. A dozen New York politicians, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, spoke at the National Action Network King Day Public Policy Forum, drawing a line between Dr. King's legacy and what he said are present-day abuses of power.
We got a hater in the White House. Haters in the cabinet. Haters throughout the Congress. People who are going to celebrate Dr. King today and then push back against liberty and justice for all tomorrow.
Yeah, so these things always become big-time political events. You had Mayor Mamdani condemning ICE up there, the Reverend Al Sharpton talking about what took place in Minneapolis. Let's play one more bite. Here's Zohran Mamdani.
Those forces of darkness wear masks because they know that what they are doing is wrong. They murder a mother of 3 as she tries to drive away. They terrorize the very communities that they are supposed to protect.
It was the 41st celebration of King's birthday. 5:55. Police searching for the man behind an armed home invasion in Canarsie, Brooklyn over the weekend. They say it happened at the intersection of East 92nd Street and Avenue J. This was about 8:25 in the morning. So now the home invader posed as a delivery driver. Now the people inside said they hadn't ordered anything, but when they rang the doorbell, they opened the door. This guy shoved his way in. He struck the man inside with a handgun over the head, demanded money, tried to grab items on his way out, was unable to do so. So he got away with nothing, but of course he frightened the people inside. And neighbors say this is all very frightening to them.
In the morning, usually that's the time I'll be walking in, going into work, and I come through this area. That's where I come. But it's sad. It's sad to know these things could take place in your neighborhood.
If I order it myself, I got an app, and I'll check myself. But other than that, I will not open the door for anybody else.
Yeah, people saying they're going to be afraid to open the door until they catch this individual who's behind this crime, but so far they have not. And one with this, the year 2016 is trending.
Even though the new year has just started, people have been reminiscing about the year 2016. It was the early days of social media, and in fashion, skinny jeans were big. Clay Routledge, an existential psychologist, says people tend to be nostalgic when they're anxious about the future or they're not sure what direction in life to take. It appears this trend is hitting millennials and older Gen Zers the most because young people tend to be nostalgic for the time in their lives where they felt young and free and energized. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
I think the one thing Lisa G. forgot in that report is the reason 2016 is trending was that was the exact moment that Sid Rosenberg started at WABC. We'll be celebrating that next Tuesday right here on 77 WABC. That's like kissing the guy's butt who you work with. 5:57, traffic, transit on the 7s. Here's Jill Nolan.
There's no doubt about that. I want to get in on that butt kissing too. Yeah,
okay, go for it.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good.
It'll keep both of us employed. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.